Greetings from Kenwa. Today is Sunday, April 14th, 2024. Today we're going to look at Mark chapter 5. And in this chapter, there are three amazing healings that Jesus did. The first, we're going to start off with the healing of the demon-possessed man that is found in Matthew 5, verses 1 to 20. The chapter starts off by telling you that Jesus crossed the Sea of Galilee into the country of the Gerasenes. This country or region is where there are a lot of Greek-speaking Jews and Gentiles live. And that is why you're going to hear about pigs in just a little bit. Well, as soon as Jesus gets off the boat, he is confronted by a demon-possessed man. Just in case you do not know, a demon is a fallen angel. An angel that has decided to follow Satan as compared to following God. Seeing someone with a demon is not something that I am familiar with at all, but demon possession is real. Look up on the internet. There is this gentleman, his name is Dr. Richard Gallagher. He is an Ivy League educated, board certified psychiatrist. He teaches at Columbia University and New York Medical College. He tells us that demon possession is real, and he has documented firsthand evidence of this. Well, here is the account of Jesus and the demon-possessed man. The first thing that happened is that the demon causes the man to run and fall down and worship Jesus. Well, the reason the demons do this is that they know who they are talking to. As in the scripture, it says the demons cry out with a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure to you by God, do not torment me." They did this because Jesus had just told them that they were to come out of the man. Jesus had ultimate power over these demons, and they knew that their fate was in Jesus' hand. So Jesus asked the man, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And they begged Jesus eagerly not to send them out of the country. Now, a great herd of swine was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, "Send us to the swine, let us enter them." So he gave them leave, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. The herdsmen who had just witnessed this, they fled, and they told the townspeople what had just happened. This caused a lot of them to come and see what had just happened. And when they came to Jesus, they saw the demoniac sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, the man who had had a legion of demons, and they were afraid. Now, you can see why the herdsmen fled. They had never seen anything like this before, and they wanted to tell everyone in the town about it. And many came from the town, and they saw the demoniac sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. So why were these people from the town afraid? Well, according to the superstitions of the day, these people felt that the unclean spirits had the upper hand over Jesus. Now, they're afraid of the awesome power it took to free this demon-possessed man. And they were afraid of Jesus, who had just demonstrated this awesome power. I want you to think about how this man must have felt after Jesus healed him. He must have felt elated, so much so that he wanted to go with Jesus. But Jesus refused and said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." And he went away and began to claim the Decapolis, how much Jesus had done for him, and all men marveled. Well, what can we learn from this healing? The first is that Jesus wants us to go out and tell others what he has done for us. Are you telling others what Jesus has done for you? We must also remember that with Jesus, hope can be found in even the most hopeless situations. The demon-possessed man had no hope whatsoever without Jesus. Jesus not only healed him, but he gave him hope and now a new life and a new purpose. We're going to go to the second healing. I'd like to say this about the second healing. It is a healing along the way. Let me explain. Well, Jesus had just been asked by this man named Jairus to come with him to heal his daughter. Jairus does it in dramatic fashion as he comes and he falls at Jesus' feet and says, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." And Jesus went with him. You have to remember that when Jesus was on earth, Jesus was fully human and fully God. And I'm sure that Jairus begging Jesus on his knees sure touched Jesus. So now they were on their way to Jairus' house and something unexpected happened to Jesus. There is this woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, and she has spent all her money on physicians, but none of them could do any good. In fact, she was getting worse. Well, she had heard reports of what Jesus could do, so she took a leap of faith. She came up behind Jesus as he was walking to Jairus' house and touched his garment. In her mind, she said, "If I touch even his garments, I will be made well." So she reached out and touched the garment of Jesus, and immediately she felt that the hemorrhage had ceased. What jubilation she must have felt. Well, at that moment, Jesus felt power flowing from him. He stopped and asked, "Who touched me?" The woman, knowing what had been done to her, she came in fear and trembling, and she fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. Jesus was very much impressed with her faith, and he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." I ask you, how much faith do you have? If God is going to do something in your life, it must always come by faith on your part and grace on God's part. Think about it. Well, after the healing of the woman, Jesus continued his walk to Jairus' house. And then a man from Jairus' house comes and says, "Your daughter is dead." Oh. Now, when you read accounts like this, I want you to put yourself in that person's place. Think about how you would feel. This brings the scriptures alive. I have two wonderful daughters, and if someone arrived and told me that one of them had just died, I would be devastated, and I would break down crying. And I am certain that Jairus would have done the same. But Jesus surprised Jairus by saying, "Do not fear, only believe." Think about what is going through Jairus' mind. He knows that his daughter is dead. And even though Jesus has done miracles, no one can bring someone back from the dead. So Jairus, Jesus, Peter, James, and John finally get to the house. They are greeted with a tumult of people weeping and wailing at the top of their lungs. As Jesus entered the house, he said, "Why do you make a tumult and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." Well, everyone there laughed at Jesus when he said this. Like they say in the old westerns, the child was dead, dead, dead. And definitely no mistaking this. Jesus told everyone to go outside. And Jesus, Jairus, his wife, along with Peter, James, and John, went in to see the dead girl. Now, if you remember, Peter, James, and John had already seen Jesus raised to life the widow's son in the town of Nain. They must have been wondering, is he going to do this again? Is he going to bring this girl back to life also? They all watched as Jesus takes the dead girl's hand and says to her, Tal itha kumi, which means, little girl, I say to you, arise. And immediately the girl got up and walked, and she was 12 years old. Oh, the tears that Jairus and his wife felt were now tears of joy. Just once again, think about how you would feel if this happened to you. These last two healings tell us that Jesus, he has power over sickness and power over death. In closing, Jesus didn't fail the demon-possessed man, didn't fail the woman with the flow of blood, and didn't fail Jairus, whose daughter had just died. And Jesus will never fail you. Jesus never promises a rose garden, but he promises to be there when we need him. Put your faith in Jesus. If Jesus has done good things in your life, go out and tell everyone about it. Our world really needs to know the good news that is in Jesus. And as I love to close with, may the good Lord be with you until we meet again.